My name is Jerm. This is Jerm Warfare, the battle of ideas. Jake Fern, thank you for joining me in the trenches.
Oh yeah, is that how you see it as a battle?
Well,
It's
yeah, I mean
quite an
that's my
interesting.
whole thing. Yeah, that's my whole
Yeah,
thing.
I know.
My whole shtick is the battle of ideas,
Yeah.
warfare, information war, trenches. I like all those metaphors. They're very aggressive and militant.
Yes, I suppose. Well, maybe that we could talk about that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because to some extent, I obviously agree. You know, and I used to love listening to Alex Jones. You know, he'd really inspire me. You know, like I'd listen to 3 hours a day to
Yeah,
Infowars. You know,
sorry, let me jump in.
go on.
I didn't copy him with my whole warfare thing.
Oh no,
Germ,
I wasn't implying that. No.
no. But I sometimes feel like I need to explain that because Infowars is massive, and then suddenly I'm playing in the warfare territory. But let me see now. Have I got a book that's close by? Yeah. Hold on, one sec.
Out of the void.
So as you might know, I am also I'm actually a cartoonist. I started
I know
podcasting
you
only a few years ago.
Phenomenal cartoonist.
No,
Yeah.
no, thank you. Now check. Yeah,
In
that's
fact,
the name of my first book, Germ Warfare. Is it showing the right way around?
yeah, it is.
Now
Yeah,
this
yeah.
now this was in 2012. This was
Right.
way
Okay.
before I knew about Alex Jones.
Yeah.
So I just named my entire thing after my first book.
Right. Where did Jerm come from then? I know because it's Jeremy, but was that
Yeah, it's just a nickname that I was given when I was in school.
your mates called you Jerm? Yeah. Okay.
It just so happened that it worked quite nicely during the COVID thing with Germ and
It's
G,
perfect.
Germ with the G, and that whole thing.
Yeah. It's perfect. But yeah, no, I wasn't. No, sorry, I didn't mean to imply that there was any kind of you ripping anyone off with. I mean, it's a common theme, isn't it? You know, and a lot of people use it and enjoy it, and it's a way of navigating where we're at in terms of a battle as a metaphor. And I think there's truth to that. We are obviously in a battle, and then some people will say, well, it's a spiritual battle. I suppose I one thing recently, I've been going through a load of stuff with people making accusations and about me, just like every
Welcome
I
to
know.
the club.
I know. It's like as soon as you do anything, people start attacking you, and it's been so. I have tried to use that as a training ground for my own kind of, I suppose, what you might call spiritual practice. And I find that I'm naturally trying to pull away perhaps from the idea of battling and fighting.
Okay, why though?
At the moment? Why? Because I find it it sort of destroys me a bit. I get caught up in it.
Yes, I know what you mean. Sorry,
now,
I'm jumping in, but I know exactly what you mean. It's very dark.
No, it's good to jump in. I suppose there's ways of fighting, and there's like it's very important when we're discussing things to sort of define terms. And I find this in life generally. And we can talk about critical thinking and all that in a minute. But again, so we're having a discussion now about war, and neither of us have actually defined how we understand that word. You know, and that can mean so we could spend the next half hour arguing. Not that we will. I don't mean it like that. But we could theoretically spend half an hour arguing over whether we're in a war or not, and each of us have a different meaning in our head of what a war is. And then at the end of it, we're none the wiser, and we've just wasted half an hour. And when actually we've probably been in agreement. I'm not talking about specifically this exchange, but this happens so often. So go on.
Well, I can tell you very easily what I mean when I say war. It's just really it's the sharpening of the sword. You have an idea and I have an idea, and I'm trying to find where, let's say, the truth of that idea lies. And the only way we can do that is to have a boxing match, because that's how we sharpen that blade.
Yeah. Well, that's clarified things quite a lot, isn't it? Because I wouldn't disagree with that. but then you throw in the boxing match. So it's like,
well, I'm just using metaphors.
yeah, I know, but they're interesting metaphors, aren't they? And in some ways, they're accurate because it can be painful, and boxing can be a noble sport. But
Actually,
it can also
Jake.
be.
No, sorry, hold on. I think you're right. I think maybe the boxing metaphor is wrong because I mean, if you look at my show, which I know you have looked at, I don't really engage in boxing matches. That's not my style. I'm not into sort of blood sport kind of idea battles. I'm into trying to figure out what other people are saying because everybody believes that they're right, that they have the right side of history. Nobody wakes up in the morning thinking, well, I'm going to be on the wrong side of history today.
You're right.
And
You're right.
And it's because of that. It's that humility in wanting to hear what somebody else is saying and is their idea better than mine. And that's precisely why I changed my position. So it's not really a boxing match.
Okay, but I'd agree with that completely. You know, I think the humility thing is really important. We always have to be flexible. And you're right. No one wakes up in the morning and thinks, I'm going to be a psychopath today, or I'm going to. I don't think so. Anyway, I mean, because I don't know, maybe but I used to listen to a guy called Patrick Timpone who had a show in America called One Radio Network, and it was brilliant. He's sort of old school guy from Texas. And he used to say, everyone, he was awake to everything. You know, he had some pretty crazy guests on there. It was primarily kind of natural health stuff. There's a whole archive, if anyone's interested. If you go to One Radio Network, there's years of great information. He used to have a woman called Jennifer Daniels, Dr. Jennifer Daniels, who does the Turpentine Protocol. There's a whole load of natural stuff. Anyway, he always used to say, everyone is doing the best that they can. And he would extend that to, you know...
I agree.
The worst kind of...
Yeah, Klaus Schwab.
You know?
Bill Gates. I don't think Bill Gates wakes up thinking, I'm going to actually try and harm the world. I fundamentally disagree with his world view, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think he wakes up thinking that he's evil.
No.
I think he wakes up thinking genuinely that he's going to make the world a better place.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I think having that perspective is probably what differentiates you from a lot of so-called truthers, because what I see is a lot of paranoia and a lot of I think it's misunderstanding
lack of nuance,
who the enemy is, or what we're actually fighting against. Yeah, lack of nuance. Yeah. And that isn't helpful if we're, like you say, if we're trying to find out exactly what's going on, if we're trying to find truth, whatever that means. And I know you wrote something interesting about truth. It'll come to me. What did you write the other day? It's not so much. You said it's not.
Yes, it's not so much about the truth. It's also about winning.
Right. That was interesting. That kind of stuck in my mind. We could dive into that.
Can I quickly explain that?
Yeah. That'd be helpful. Yeah.
So let's say you are in a war. You're on the front line. You're a soldier, and you know the truth about the enemy, what's happening on the other side of that horizon. Yeah. But then you get killed. Now what? Yeah. You had the truth, but it didn't help. You needed to have the truth and still win that battle. Yeah. Winning is... So, in other words, truth is necessary, but it's not sufficient.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There's no point in just doom scrolling and building up knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I agree with that completely. Yeah. True. I suppose if you take that to the ultimate, then I think truth is in itself what wins the battle. So
I'll give you a real life example. Sorry, I keep jumping in. I apologize.
No, I like it. It's good.
So if you had asked me 6 years ago, should my child be vaccinated at birth, I would have said absolutely.
Right.
My child, thankfully, was not born 6 years ago. My child was born 2 years ago.
Right.
And yeah, thank you. And I've got another one on the way.
Good. Yeah, so that's why you're not sure whether you're coming over. Is that right, in September?
I'm going to cut this part out because I'm not going to talk about
Oh,
that
right.
just
Sorry.
yet.
Okay. Yeah.
So, all right. So, okay. So I was
Sorry. Yeah.
saying that.
Six
So my
years ago.
child was
Yeah.
So my child was born 2 years ago. He's not vaccinated. He didn't even get vitamin K. Now, here's a real life example of the truth, quote unquote. It came to be that I realized that vaccinating babies at birth was not the best thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, I can sit with that information and do nothing with it, and then my child gets born and still gets vaccinated. But I still know the truth.
Uh-huh.
I actually acted on it. My wife and I acted on it and said, hang on,
Yeah.
we're going to do something with that information. That's winning.
That makes total sense. I totally agree with that. It's the consequences, isn't it? It's the action. Yeah, there's no point. I think a lot of people just I agree. I think a lot of people think that just having knowledge is somehow an end in
Sufficient.
itself. Yeah, it's of course it's not. Yeah, it's. I think on a kind of deeper on a sort of deeper spiritual level, the more truth that you have in your life, the better life you have, and the better life everyone around you has. So there's kind of levels of truth, aren't there? There's the truth of the external world, and then there's another level of truth, which is the truth of our kind of internal world, I suppose, which is just as important. And if that's ignored, then that's when I think you get an imbalance, and you get people who are just looking out, always looking out, and then that's when the paranoia sets in, I think, because it's unbalanced.
Paranoia is not necessarily a bad thing. So I had John McAfee on my show a couple times a few years ago,
Yeah.
before he was Epstein, and
Yeah.
and
He's an
he said to
interesting guy.
me, very interesting. And he said to me that paranoia is what led him to creating the software antivirus. The antivirus software.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it turned out to be a good call because you get computer viruses.
Yeah.
That
But
was based on paranoia. That's what he said.
but was it paranoia, or was it just insight? I mean,
Oh, okay. Well, I suppose, yeah.
he might have called it paranoia, but if it's accurate, then
Well, okay. Here's another example. So I live in South Africa. It's a very,
yeah.
very dangerous country. Am I paranoid by having guns and high walls and security and all that kind of stuff, even though nobody's broken into my home?
Okay, so this is another example of defining terms, isn't it? So my definition of paranoia is basically acting on information that is not verified, that is not accurate. It is basically living in a sort of fantasy world where your actions aren't based on reality. Whereas perhaps the definition of paranoia you're using is just high alert. It's like just actually accurate. And worst case scenario thinking. But I don't call that paranoia. That's not what I mean by paranoia. So yeah, obviously you can be thinking, well, obviously we don't know what's going on, so we have to make some kind of informed guess as what's going on, and you have a range of possibilities. Some of them are worse than others. If you contemplate that possibility, that's not what I'm calling paranoia. What I'm calling paranoia is the kind of indulgence in bad thinking, allowing your kind of worst instincts to take over, inaccurate thinking. So that's kind of what I mean by paranoia. So if you're externalizing everything and you think that if you're not working on yourself, if you're not working on the inner truth, you're just looking at what you think is true out there. There's an imbalance, and that to me leads to a lack of responsibility. So you're not taking responsibility. You're just looking at kind of this. You're creating a kind of fantasy world where you're a victim, and that's what I see quite a bit with people who are looking at all this stuff. I suppose I've got a certain thing. I've got a certain kind of situation in mind, because there's a whole. I don't know if you know Bob Moran. Obviously, you know Bob Moran.
Yeah, we're friends.
Bob's been recently had the finger pointed at him, and
Ed the techie or something.
Yeah. So that's kind of doing the rounds, and it sparked something in me when I read the article. It was sort of like a hit piece.
Francis O'Neill or something.
Yeah, that's right. And I just thought there's so much in there that was just kind of fantasy, really,
and toxic,
and toxic. Yeah, and I suppose this is where I think we need to be careful. Go on, jump in.
No, I'm completely on the same page as you. I find we at UK Column, actually, as you probably know, since you're part of UK Column, and I want to talk about that in a moment also, have been under attacks, not from necessarily people who are not on our side, but people on our side. There is a lot of friendly fire going on, and it's something that really bothers me. What this Bob Moran example is exactly that. It's, I don't know what's going on. If it's deliberate or if it's well intentioned or well meaning, but why are people on the same side firing bullets at one another? I've just lost your visual.
Oh, really?
And it's got a little cat wagging its tail.
One sec.
There, you're back.
Yeah, I'm not sure they are on the same side. I don't even know what that means. Again, we're sort of going back to the war metaphor, the battle, because someone who thinks they're on the same side, but they're not doing the inner work, and they could just be agents of chaos without even realizing it, and they're actually doing harm. If you're creating an environment where people are being led down paths because they haven't got the tools, because people haven't got critical. Generally, this might sound harsh, but a lot of people in the movement, although they might be awake, whatever that means, they've seen through the agenda. They have a sense of sovereignty, but their critical thinking skills aren't necessarily that great. So, yeah, ultimately everyone's responsible for where they are at. But if you have people who are muddying the waters, not necessarily, I'm not pointing the controlled up finger, because I find that just a kind of endless spiral down. But just through ego, lack of self-awareness, lack of critical thinking, paranoia, all these things.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah. If they're dragging people down, they're not on my side. they're not on the same side as me. They're not in the trenches with me, because they're just creating chaos, and they're not acting honorably, and they're not acting out of a sincere search for truth. Even though they might seem to be, and they might say the right things, and they might know that 9/11 was an inside job, and they might, whatever it might be, they know that COVID was a scam. They know all these things.
Well, I've come to the conclusion that what you are referring to is, it's effectively no different to what we were seeing in the late teens with the hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag Me Too. It's all of these kind of woke cultural wars, or culture wars rather, in which it's not about getting to the truth. It's about playing games of power. It's flexing muscles. Yeah, identity. It's identity wars. Yeah. It's I know better than you.
Yes.
And therefore I'm going to call you out. It's trying to monopolize truth.
Yeah. And yet when you criticize it, what I have come back is, oh no, you're now trying to control the narrative. So that's what so you point out the lack of accuracy, or you point out certain psychological traits with these people, and then all that does is feed the paranoia. and they gives them another weapon to, and it's this endless.
And it's binary.
spiral.
It's constant binary thinking. There's no understanding of complex systems or nuance.
This is so important, Jerm. Yeah.
You see this with the no virus stuff also. Now, I am sympathetic to their general arguments, but the way in which that they tend to approach any kind of discourse is very aggressive, antagonistic. Oh, your guest believes in viruses. I can't trust anything he says.
Yeah.
How do you arrive at that?
Yeah. Well, this is really what's on my mind at the moment, and I think this is more for me. So when I do the 1,000 words thing, this is more of the stuff that I talk about, because I think the details I'm not so drawn to at the moment. But this psychology is just so important to me. Why does this kind of thing happen constantly? So I think what people do, it goes back to tribal thinking, like you said. It's this binary idea. So that leads to a whole load of conclusions then. So you start talking about guilt by association, just because someone is connected to someone. And what the opposite of that is, what true critical thinking is evaluating each action on its own merit. So, for example, with this Bob Moran hit piece, there's a whole load of kind of, I don't even know if I'd call it circumstantial evidence, but it's just gumph that's thrown out there. Like, for example, his name is being written in capital letters is a Freemasonic reference to the number 33 and 101, superimposed on each other, like one. I don't know if you can picture it.
Yes.
And that's just kind of thrown out there.
But you just made a Masonic sign with your hand, by the way. Be careful now. You're gonna get accused also.
I'm trying to signal to those out there who are on the score. And then that's just kind of thrown out there. But what wasn't in that article was a single accusation of anything that Bob's done wrong.
That's exactly what happened to me. I don't know if you saw that whole series of hit pieces about me when I went to China by David Hughes. Yeah. A four article series.
It was quite intense, wasn't it?
No accusations, just questions, bro. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah. This is it. Just asking questions, and we should be allowed to ask questions, shouldn't we?
Of course.
Yes, of course. Ask the questions, but. I said this to someone. I said, if I just pointed at someone and went, "Are you a paedophile?"
I'm just asking questions.
And his family are there. Yeah. And then what? I'm just asking questions. Were you looking at that child in a weird way? That that's just a question. But his family are there, and I'm just paranoid, and I'm just making it up. But I'm just asking questions. Is that? And if someone says, "Have you got any evidence?" I'm just asking questions. Or and this is.
Because what is the purpose? Like, what is the intent?
Yeah.
What is the goal? What is the end game?
That's it. That's so pertinent. Because what is so? Let's say we've.
And by the way, sorry, David Hughes did make an accusation. He in his very first piece, and I only read the first two pieces because they were so terrible that I didn't bother going any further. But his opening claim about my visa was completely wrong.
Right.
I mean, he didn't even get the basics right.
Right.
So,
yeah, I know this.
So his claims and his quote unquote questions / accusations are all just nonsense.
Yeah, and they're built on a false premise, and the kind of journalism that's been put out there by these people. I can't speak so much for David Hughes because I don't know the details, but I'm more involved in the Bob thing, so I can.
Yeah, I know nothing about Ed the techie. I don't even know who that is. I just saw the name.
Ed, I not met Ed, but I'm in Brighton in the UK, and he was in Brighton, and we have mutual friends. So I knew of him only after he died. I'd never heard of him, but my mate who's in band that I'm in used to know him, and I've met people who've met him since. And he, so the key aspect of it, I think, really is that he was quite aggressive towards people who supported the Lucy Connolly story, right? And apparently, it's blindingly obvious that the Lucy Connolly story is some kind of psyop. So I'm not even going to get into that, but let's assume it is a psyop. He didn't think it was a psyop, right? So he bought it. He took it on face value. So therefore, he's an agent, and therefore Bob, who did this cartoon, who quite liked some of his tweets and was a sort of friend of his, also is an agent, or dodgy, And this is the kind of thinking. It's just there's no. So what happens is you have a premise, and then you try and find evidence to back it up. It's not the other way around. You don't see evidence. So there's no, like I said, at no point is Bob accused of actually doing anything wrong. So there's no like, oh, Bob was caught stealing money, or Bob was caught with a minor, or Bob was caught lying about something. It's no, Bob did a cartoon for someone who he quite respected, who maybe didn't believe that Lucy Connolly was a psyop. Now, this like how many steps removed from actually doing something wrong for us to kind of just dismiss someone. So we're going to dismiss everything that he's done, all the wonderful cartoons.
Something that I talk all the time about. It's what I refer to as a purity test.
Yeah.
I hate purity tests.
Yep. Yeah. And because it's so
binary.
It's so binary, but it's also so low. Like it's so inhuman in a way. Because let's take Bob as an example. Everything that he's done, all the hearts that he's touched with his art. You're a brilliant cartoonist as well, so you know how powerful a cartoon can be. And Bob happened to just be in the that time and place. He was there, and he expressed what millions of people were feeling, and he brought them comfort, sad tears of joy. It's just those cartoons captured a real moment. But we're gonna shit on that completely. We're just gonna sully that. We're gonna say all that is just can't even look at those cartoons now. That guy's everything he did is just worthless.
But this is the way cults operate. Also, they isolate themselves more and more and more through purity tests.
Yeah. And the reason it's worth talking about.
And they create suspicion where there shouldn't be, and they create enemies where there shouldn't be.
That's 100% true. That is 100% true, and that is loosh farming, and that's what they're doing. They are loosh farmers, but they don't even know it. And I found this because I got into an exchange with Miri Finch's husband. Miri AF. Have you come across Miri AF?
Yeah, I've never had her on my show, but I do know who she is.
Yeah, I mean she's obviously smart and she's done some good stuff, right? But I got into an exchange when I critiqued Francis's article, and I got into an exchange with Mark Finch, her husband, and I just felt he wouldn't give it up. He just kept coming back, and then I'd sort of critique his response in a very sort of clear way, and then he would avoid it and just come back with another response, and it was like, and then there'd be a gap, and then he'd come back, and I felt, oh my God, I am being farmed. I really felt like I'm being farmed, whether he's conscious of it or not. I felt like they want this energy. They want this. Now, it might just be, and I'm not saying it's some kind of dark esoteric thing. I think the basis of it is basically just, they want to promote themselves. They want the energy are surrounded. They're probably not even conscious of it in that way. But I think once you've got a Substack and you've got a following, and you have to keep feeding it. I mean, I'm quite lucky because this isn't my day job. Like, perhaps similar to you, I paint, and all this is sort of a side thing, just because I'm interested in it and I like talking, and my mind's active, and I'm trying to make sense of the world. But it's not my bread and butter, and I don't feel a need to kind of just make content for the sake of it, or just keep this kind of machine going. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people get stuck in that rut where they feel they have to just keep creating and creating and creating, even when maybe they don't believe in what they're doing. And I would say this group of people have got caught in that trap. It's like you can see it. Oh, I'm going to bring out another article, and this one's going to be more extreme, and this one's, and now I'm doubling down, and I've been told, but they're all trying to control me, so I'm going to get even more radical. And now he's released one about Bob's brother, and it's like he's gone into his brother's background, and he's going into the film's script that he wrote, and an actress in the film, and like it's just mental.
I can tell you where it goes, though.
Delusional.
If you just think about the logical conclusion, what they're doing is exactly what cults do. What it does is it cuts off more and more people until they reach a point where they are the arbiter of truth.
Yeah, it's true. That is right. And I was chatting with Vicky about it last night, and we were saying, but they kind of destroy themselves, and they do. But they also drag people down with them. And you see this sort of, you might have 90% of people thinking this is just crazy paranoid nonsense. But they find, like any cult, they find this hardcore group of followers who back them up, and they then become delusional because they're not seeing things objectively. They're not getting a slap from mom. Come on, John, stop being a dick, like just start acting like that. No, but my friend thinks I'm really cool. My friend thinks I'm really cool. And it's like you get this bunch of people going, yeah, great. And they kind of, so they create a following, and that just inspires them. And then you just get pockets of, and it does, we went to Sounds Beautiful Festival last weekend, which is a lovely little festival. It's kind of an awake festival in Dorset. And I was chatting with people there, and these were people who were buying into it. And I talked about Bob, and Bob was actually there. He turned up. We were chatting, and one of the guys who was kind of backing up Francis and saying, "Oh yeah, no, these are good questions." And then Bob turns up and sits with us, and like I think actually like the two of them, like him actually seeing face to face what he was actually condoning, like snapped him out of it. But this is it. If you're not in the real world, if you're not actually out meeting people and experiencing the consequences of your actions, if you're just in some little bubble and you're just writing on,
that's what they do.
Yeah, and you're just throwing shit out. You're just throwing shit out all day long. It's just not constructive. It doesn't help anyone. Like you said, your question is really the right question to ask. What does it serve? What does it do?
It doesn't do anything other than flex their own muscles. It's I know more than you.
Yeah.
You are controlled, or you're a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And by the way, please subscribe and pay me $5 a month.
Yeah.
So
totally. Yeah. Which is fine. Like
it is fine.
Like we all need to support what we're doing. So it's not that in and of itself. But yeah, you're right. That I mean, I had that with Dan Paul,
yes.
Yeah, he basically said you're gatekeeping. He told me literally to my face. He said, "Oh, well, you're gatekeeping." I was like, "No, how am I gatekeeping? I'm it's my opinion. So if I give my opinion, I'm gatekeeping. But if you give your opinion and I challenge it, I'm gatekeeping. But if you give your opinion, that's not gatekeeping. That's just your opinion. This is like it's kind of prissy, prima donna-y sort of bullshit, Like I can just throw shit out there, but if you criticize it or critique it or analyze it in any way, you're the one trying to control me. Now, I'm not trying to control you. I'm not saying you can't say the crap that you're saying. You're allowed to say the crap you're saying.
I get this all the time, Jake.
I'm allowed to critique it and point out that
Yeah.
it's crap. That doesn't mean I'm gatekeeping or that I'm controlled or that I'm trying to control you. This is again, this is the victim mentality.
Yeah, but it's that 1-0. It's that false dichotomy thinking. My strategy from years ago has been a Sun Tzu strategy, and that is actually, I don't even know if it probably is Sun Tzu, but Bruce Lee actually very eloquently said it in the 1960s. He said, "Take that which is valuable, discard that which is not, create what is uniquely yours."
Yeah,
and I find that immensely valuable because I can then listen to anybody, even Klaus Schwab.
Yeah.
And crazy as it sounds, can get something valuable from him and then discard what I find invaluable. Not invaluable, unvaluable. Is that right? Unvaluable?
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, because you know why that is? It's because you are sovereign and you're confident and you know what you know and you are solid in your core. If you're not solid in your core, you're constantly I can't listen to that. I can't. No, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear that because demons might attack me or they might get in. This is the paranoia. So you get the same with the I've got a lot of friends in Brighton who are into kind of new age stuff. And there's there's a lot of truths in the new age. There's a lot of bullshit, but there's a lot of truth. But there's a lot of people who are so paranoid. They give their power away. So that the idea of demons and possession and attachment and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, there might be some truth to it, but you are powerful. You are the one who can control whether that. You have to let them in. It's the vampire myth. You have to open the door. You have to let them in. You have to let them in. But that's why you can listen to Schwab and you're not going to open the door to him because you're sovereign, you're confident, you understand, you're sensitive to the human condition. But when you're in a state of mind where you don't feel secure, and I get why people feel this because of the chaos in the world and the craziness. But if you don't have a centered core and you don't have a sovereign state of mind, you are going to be pushing stuff away and not able to take certain things on board because you think they're going to infiltrate your mind, because you're not in control of it. And I think this is a really key thing. It's what's at the heart of any cult, essentially, is that you don't have the power, but someone else can help you to achieve enlightenment, God, sovereignty, whatever. It's always someone out there can help you. You need someone else to navigate the system for you. So people who listen to this kind of paranoid nonsense by Francis, they're still looking for a hero. They're looking for a savior. They're looking for someone to tell them who they should trust. Where the true sovereign doesn't care about that. They'll take each action and each occurrence separately and analyze it there and then in the moment. So I'll look at Klaus Schwab. Is that you or me? Oh, sorry about that. So they'll look at Klaus Schwab and they'll almost like, I can't listen to him. I'm going to be conditioned, or I'm going to be brainwashed, or I'm going to be, that's not a sovereign state of mind. And I think I don't know if it's because you're an artist, and I think when you're an artist, you talked about nuance earlier, and part of being an artist is engaging with nuance, and you can't be an artist if you're a black and white thinker, because it doesn't reflect reality. So no one appreciates your art because no. Sorry, I should
just tell them I'll call them back later.
I should have put it on flight mode. I've put it on flight mode now, so. I've put it on flight mode now, so it shouldn't. Sorry, you've got more editing. I know what it's like. You don't want more editing to do. That's the painful aspect, isn't it, of doing all this? Sorry, lost my thread now. I think I'll probably wrap that one up. But yeah. I was talking about nuance. I was talking about art. So, if you're creative and you're creating art, you can't engage in black and white thinking. You're looking at the subtleties of the human experience, and that's what creates beautiful art. It's a mix of all kinds of things. Whereas the kind of paranoid mind is just good, bad.
Yes, and also there's no room for detail. James, who I like, I'm friends with, but he in his one Substack article openly states he doesn't care about details.
Right.
And I do.
Yeah.
I care about details. That's why I can generate my own opinion on, let's say, chemtrails, on viruses or contagion, on the pyramids, on aliens. I can. These are all talking points that I can have separate opinions on. I don't have to slot them into some sort of pigeonhole. Oh, well, because I like going down rabbit holes, I'm therefore going to, by default, adopt the counter narrative. Because that in itself is an ideological flaw.
Yeah, and it's so common. Yeah. No, that's spot on. Now, I would say I've got less interested in details, but not in the same way that perhaps James is saying, because I fully admire. Like I listen to you and the guys at the column, and I'm like, wow, Jerm really knows his shit. So you can have it. Now, for me, there's certain things which I just like. Let's say viruses, virus, no virus. I haven't looked into it. I don't feel any particular need to. But then I'm not gonna offer my opinion on it particularly. I'll just say I'm happy to sit in that. I don't know.
You're such a gatekeeper.
Yeah, I know. This is it. No, but this is what happened. I said, because I'm happy to say I don't know. You know, because I was, yeah. So I think.
Oh, and that's the one that I hate. That's the one I hate. So because you don't have an opinion, Jake, you're a normie.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Now, again, it's black and white, isn't it? It's that division thing. I don't feel the need to have an opinion on certain things. Like, it doesn't. At this point in my life, it's not helping me navigate my life. So I'm interested in certain things. I'm interested in art, psychology, spirit, whatever I'm interested in. You know, plumbing, cooking, whatever I'm interested in. I'm interested in. If I'm not, but then I'm not going to write an article about. I'm not going to write an article and just drop in, oh yeah, chemtrails are this, or viruses, of course, don't exist, or yes, of course, blah blah blah. Because why would I do that? I don't need to. I don't need to create an identity as a truther. Like, I don't need to wrap myself up in a truther shell and just say this. I believe everything that the conspiracy kind of royalty believe in. So yeah, I think that's the difference. You go into the detail, which enables you then to have great conversations with a whole bunch of people. And if you,
not all things. I mean, it's difficult.
Yeah, of course. But then, from what I've seen, you just sit in the same way that I perhaps do in the 1,000 words. You kind of sit and you just listen, and you go, yeah, maybe. Or you might just offer. You might offer some mirror up to it or something. But I don't think you're someone who would go, oh yeah, of course, there's no viruses, without having come to that conclusion yourself, And I think that's the difference. Whereas I think James kind of does do that. I mean, I remember meeting him at the first Hope Festival. I didn't know who he was, and he was chatting with his brother. And it's this guy, and his brother had the military hat on. And it was like, they were quite eccentric, and I was like, oh, these are a strange couple of guys. But I just remember thinking, no, I think they were nice. They were nice enough and they were interesting conversation. But I felt like, oh, this guy's like a kid in a sweet shop. He's just, the way he was talking was like, just, of course, I'm just going to consume every conspiracy. Like I just thought there doesn't seem to be a lot of discernment going on here. It's just sort of a kind of fetishization almost of conspiracy thinking. I think people who have only been looking at this stuff since 2020, I think they tend to be more prone to that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
it's not exclusively true. Like,
no, it's not exclusively true, but there's an overexcitement.
Yes. Yeah. And a kind of running with shit when perhaps you should just sit and observe for a bit longer. I mean, there are exceptions. Bob would be an exception. I don't think he was really looking at stuff before, and he's a very nuanced thinker. And he's very, but again, he's an artist, and I think it's a different way of looking at the world.
Well, we've spent almost an hour, and I haven't even asked you my very first question, which is about your art itself. But I've enjoyed the conversation. I think I'll have to get you back, and we can chat more about art. Because look, you have beautiful paintings.
Thanks.
And we haven't spoken at all about any of it. But I suppose this is part of the it's the territory. Because you engage in this kind of stuff in your artwork, as it turns out, the 1,000 words thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of different things. So I do something called the Righteous Brothers, which is overtly more social commentary kind of stuff, and then the portraits. I do sort of classical portraiture, and then I just thought, because I love people, and I'm just fascinated by people. And I just had this idea to start having conversations whilst painting them. Actually, it was my wife who came up with the idea, and she said that would make a great podcast because it's quite different. I mean, it's a bit of a niche thing because for some people they're busy and they want info quick, and it's not that kind of thing. It's like, okay, I want to just sit and relax and hear someone's story, a bit more of that. I like to go into people's story and just where they're coming from,
Yeah, and also you're quite geographically restricted.
Well, there is that. It has to be in person. Yeah, it has to be in person, which is, that is a problem. So I'm actually going to start. We just bought this little caravan. It's called a pod. It's called a Go Pod. It's tiny. It only weighs like 500 kilos, but it makes quite a nice studio because it's all white. And I don't have anywhere in the house that I can do podcasts from because I work in the loft and it looks like I'm in prison when I'm in the loft. It just doesn't look good. Anyway, so I came in here and I thought, this would make nice. So I'm going to start doing little shorter interviews because there's so many people who I'd like to talk with about more sort of esoteric stuff. I mean, there's endless amount of possible guests. If I didn't have to be with them in person and I didn't have to set up an easel and have a camera crew and all this, so I think I'm quite excited about that. I mean, just going to the festival at the weekend, met 3 or 4 people who might not want to sit for 4 hours and have their portrait painted, but have a really interesting story. Like there's a guy, I think his name's Andy, who set up a charity called We Are Human, and he was an ex-homeless guy, and We Are Human helps homeless people, but they do it properly, because I worked for a charity back in the day, and the guy who set that charity up, I mean, it was quite interesting. It was sort of I won't go into the details of that. He claimed he was enlightened, and it was part of a kind of self-development project, and he set up these charities. But one of the things that was really good about what he did was that he challenged, or he studied how mainstream charities work. And he said, no, we're going to do it differently. No one's going to get paid. Even the director's not going to get paid, blah, 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 blah. Because I don't know if most people know, I think they probably do, but most of the big charities that you see on the high street, they've got directors earning maybe even $250,000 up to $250,000 a year. And it goes all the way back down to the regional managers who are on good money and driving around in posh cars, So money doesn't get. It's hard to find a charity that you can support where you think, oh yeah, that money is actually being used properly. So if anyone's interested, We Are Human. They do really good work. So he's got a really interesting story. He was homeless, and now he's helping the homeless. So it's people like that. I'm sort of interested in that, like going back to action and where we're at and what's the point, like rather than endless rabbit holing and calling out shills and
I like
God,
that.
it's like draining.
There's so much more substance in that, Jake.
Yeah.
There's so much more depth. I left Twitter X at the end of 2025, and I rejoined it a few days ago.
Right. Are you feeling all right? How are you feeling?
No, well, the thing is,
how many snuff movies have you watched since joined it? It's horrible.
Good old Elon.
It's horrible. It's so dark.
But one of the reasons why I returned, actually, against my better judgment, is because a lot of people who I want on my show are there,
right?
And it's the easiest way to contact them,
right?
So I kind of returned quietly,
yeah.
So I could get hold of some of those people. But why was I telling you that? I was saying
about substance. There's so much substance in the real stories and people who are actually doing stuff, And
yes, and what I noticed is, now that a few years have gone past the COVID era, it's as though it never existed. And people have gone back to their same culture wars, their same political wars that they were having in the 20-teens. And they've gone back to, being a follower of Trump, because he's a great Pied Piper.
Right.
And it's all the same stuff all over again.
Yeah.
It's as though we need another quote unquote pandemic.
Don't say it. Careful what you wish for. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting perspective. I feel that maybe that's the case with those who are, for example, on Twitter or X.
I prefer saying Twitter. I can't say X. Yeah, I still struggle with the word X.
Yeah, me too. I just call it Twitter. But I think people have, as far as I can tell, like, say from going to festivals and the local meetup groups, and I think there has been a progression, and people aren't returning back to that. But I think maybe the vocal ones, those who have a voice, it doesn't quite represent where we're actually at culturally, or in a kind of group consciousness kind of way. I think COVID was like a honeymoon period for a lot of people. So we all found each other. It was very easy because we had it was very black and white. If you saw someone wearing a mask in a shop, you'd be like, well, I'm not going to have much in common with them. And if you saw someone not wearing a mask, you go up to them and go, hey, and you become friends. Quite, So it was really good like that. And then I think, I think, like any honeymoon period, it kind of ends, and then you get into the meat and potatoes of a relationship. And if that relationship's going to go anywhere, you have to practice self-honesty, vulnerability, all the things that make a good relationship. And I just think a lot of people are struggling with that aspect of it. A lot of people aren't. I think a lot of people are shifting over to an interest more in people and not the external. And I think we need to just get that balance right, because it's obviously important. We need to know what's going on out there, and that's why the UK column is so. I mean, that's what the UK column does really well, and people like that. And when you talk, and having that overview of what's going on, there was a period in my life where I completely dived in. Like I said, Alex Jones was 3 hours a day. I'm not saying that he was the be all and end all of the truth, but at the time, going back,
they're turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, all that. But it was great, 20 years ago. It was inspiring. We kind of some people needed that. But again, I use that as an example. Like, I'm not a raging Zionist just because I listen to Alex Jones or whatever. People say, well, he was a gatekeeper, so you've been brainwashed. Well, I can discern. I can take from Alex Jones at the time. I took from him what was right for me because I was sovereign of mind. And then again, that's that kind of, I can listen to anyone, and just, it doesn't matter. That's why I don't get too concerned about who's controlled and who's not controlled. I just think it's almost irrelevant, because if you're taking each thing that they say and just weighing it up and just evaluating it, I don't care. So the classic example is David Icke. Yeah, he's 90% truth, and then he throws in the lizard shit. And it's like, I don't care. I can put the lizard shit. Let me finish.
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I can put the lizard shit on the maybe pile, but it doesn't. Oh, we've frozen. I know, that's all right.
Well, yeah, you froze. I lost your video feed.
Can you hear me though? All right.
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I don't know why that happened.
All right, I'll tell you what we can do. We can truncate this by a few minutes, and you can come back for round 2. Let's just call it a day. It's been a bit of a gremlin fest, this conversation. I've enjoyed chatting to you, but I think what I wanted to chat to you about, we should maybe do in our follow-up conversation. So I think for now, Jake, Fern, thank you for joining me in the trenches.